Hello everyone, welcome to Easy Economics. How are you all doing? I hope you are doing good. Today I brought for you all 9708 May-June 2025 paper 44. We'll be looking at section C today. It's a 20-mark essay question. Let's see what this question talks about. All right. So now this question is referring to economic growth. The question says, evaluate how a country might increase its potential economic growth. That's a 20-mark question. The way to deal with this question is, first we are going to be explaining what do we mean by potential economic growth. We'll briefly give its definition and we'll draw the required diagrams. Then we'll mention the ways a government might use. That means we'll talk about supply side policies. Maximum you can give up to 3. It depends on you, but then maximum I would suggest you can give up to 3. As the examiner says, even if you've given 2 of the supply side policies and you've talked about them using those chain analysis and you have analyzed it well, you've developed the relationships, you've evaluated it, it's fair enough. But then I would rather go with 3 policies. We'll be talking about 5 to 6 policies, and out of these, you can pick any 3 which you like. Choose the ones in which you can talk in depth and you can analyze it well and evaluate them as well, right? For instance, if you're talking about increasing economic growth, we can choose supply side policy. For instance, we'll talk about education and training. We can talk about research and development, and we can talk about how infrastructure, that means all these 3 policies can enable an increase in the potential economic growth. We'll be analyzing these policies as well, and we'll be evaluating these policies as well. Once you'll be done with these all, then we are going to be talking about the shortcomings. That means to what extent that these supply side policies that we just mentioned are going to be effective. So we are going to be talking about the shortcomings in the form of government finance, in the form of the time lag, in the form of environmental concerns, or the political factors that will be restricting the full effectiveness of these policies once they are implemented. And we'll be also talking about the shortage of the key resources that firms face that does not help in reaping full benefits of these supply side policies. And finally, we'll brush it off with a strong evaluation or a conclusion. So this is how we'll go about answering this question. All right, so let's begin. First thing, what do we mean by potential economic growth? Potential economic growth refers to an increase in a country's productive capacity, right? So when there is an increase in the country's productive potential, that means we are talking about the possibility of increasing the goods and the services that are currently produced by that economy. That means, in other words, you are increasing the maximum amount of goods and services the economy can produce. So far, so good. So, if there's an increase in the productive potential of the economy, how would you represent it graphically? If you're talking about using a PPC curve, that means we'll be using a rightward shift of the entire PPC towards the right. The entire PPC is going to move outwards. We'll be producing more of both capital and consumer goods as shown by diagram 1. Or if you are using the long run aggregate supply curve, the long run aggregate supply curve will also move towards the right, showing an increase in the productive potential of the economy. That means there will be an increase in the real GDP, showing that now the economy is able to produce more of goods and services. Now, what are the policies that would enable an increase in economic growth? We all know that if you want to achieve an increase in economic growth, that is possible by 2 ways: increasing the quantity or the quality of the factors of production, right? So, in other words, we are talking about improving the efficiency of how the existing resources are used, right? So, the first policy that a government can use in order to increase the productive potential of its country could be investment in education and training. Now, we know that when a country invests in education and training, it would improve the skills and the human capital of workers. How? Once the labor force is going to be highly trained, they would have the technical expertise for manufacturing and to be employed in high tech industries, right? They would be enjoying a higher level of productivity. So, higher level of productivity means what? That means that the cost per unit of output would fall and the economy's productive capacity would rise. This means that there would be again a rightward shift of the long run aggregate supply curve towards the right. This means that the economy is now able to produce more at each and every price level. In the long run, higher productivity would also increase or encourage investment. Why? Because firms would want to reap benefits of this highly skilled labor force and would like to increase their productive capacity as well. But education and training involves a lot of government expenditure. It requires substantial government expenditure. Plus, once students are acquiring skills, it would require time. And once they're going to be trained, it requires a certain time period before they could be a part of the labor force. That means there is a long time lag, right? So the policy could be more effective in increasing this economic growth in the long run rather than the short run. So far, so good. So we are done with the first policy. The second policy that could be implemented by an economy in order to increase its potential economic growth would be spending on infrastructure projects. Now, what does that mean? That means that if a government spends on roads, or it spends on ports, or it spends on the provision of electricity network, or in the facilitation of public transport, or telecommunications, what happens? It's actually supporting people by way of reducing their cost of production and their time period as well, right? So, better infrastructure will enable firms, for instance, to make use of better roads and they would be able to quickly transport their raw materials or acquire their raw materials and supply their finished products efficiently. Similarly, better electricity network and more reliable communication networks would also increase a firm's productive capacity and it would enable the long run aggregate supply curve to move towards the right again, right? It would also encourage multinationals to set up when they'll see economies developing or having such a fantastic communication and a road network system. They would be enticed to set up their corporations. And as a result, the countries can further benefit, right, from added potential increase in their output, right? Private sector would like to expand and it would lead to an increase in the employment level overall. But again, there are drawbacks or there are again shortcomings or limitations. Infrastructure projects are very expensive and they require heavy investment. So if the government is short on funds, what does that mean? That means that the government would be again depending on a lot of borrowing. And this borrowing could then drive up or increase the level of interest rates in an economy. Plus, there might also be a significant time lag between spending on these infrastructure projects and the point at which the productive capacity begins to increase. You see, because spending on ports or development of these roads and infrastructure networks, it takes 3 to 5 years. Once the full benefits start to reap in. The third policy that you can talk about could be research and development. Now, how does research and development or improvement in technology would assist in increasing potential output? You see, research and development or technology does what? It talks about investment in new technology. So once we are talking about investment in new technology, what does new technology does? It brings in new products, innovation, right? So we could be talking about new technology, 5G, right? Internet. So what does it do? It brings in greater efficiency. We can talk about improved production methods, right? Maybe we are more talking about more automation, right? So eventually it leads to higher levels of output or improvement in quality of existing goods and services. Using the same quantity of resources, it leads to higher quality or more output, right? So again, the long run aggregate supply curve would shift outwards, right? Government can encourage research and development by either giving subsidies to firms or giving them grants or tax incentives to firms who are highly innovative, or they find ways to make their production systems more seamless, more innovative, more productive, more efficient, right? So, but again, there are restrictions, there are limitations that we are not sure to what extent does this investment in research and development is going to fully generate increases in potential output, right? Government may not know which projects will generate the greatest economic benefits. And again, there would be a time lag before such research produces commercially useful technology, right? Now, other than these three supply side policies, you could have chosen foreign direct investment, or you could have talked about privatization and competition, or you could have talked about how increases in labor supply would also have increased your potential output. If you had chosen any of these three, or maybe all three, they would also have been equally right. Now you'll talk about the evaluation. Now comes the evaluation part. Now, once you've mentioned these policies, these three policies that we just discussed, now you're going to be talking about what would actually enable you to know whether these supply side policies that you just mentioned, that means the research and development and investment in education and training and infrastructure, to what extent would these policies actually work? You see, there is no single supply side policy that would guarantee you an increase in potential economic growth. So this means we are going to be using a combination of these policies in order to ensure an increase in our economic growth, right? For instance, government finance. So now when we are talking about government finance, many of the supply side policies require heavy government expenditure, right? For instance, if we are spending on education, or we are spending on infrastructure, or maybe research and development, they all require heavy government expenditure. And if the government has limited resources, like we discussed earlier, that means that the government would have to rely on heavy borrowing, and that has a cost. Excessive borrowing could lead to a hike in interest rates, and this would then be a concern, right? Plus, there is also a time lag. Supply side policies take time to affect the productive capacity, right? Before fully benefits are reaped, it takes time. When you're talking about spending on education or giving training, right? So it takes years. So supply side policies may have little effect on potential growth in the short run. In the long run, yes, they would be effective, but in the short run, it would be requiring time. They would have little effect. What about political concerns? Yes, there might be political constraints. There might be opposition from the trade unions or the businesses or political parties, right? They might oppose these policies and they might resist. So theoretically, they might be more effective, but politically, they might not be able to be that feasible. Shortage of resources is another area of concern. If firms are facing shortages of electricity, there are frequent power outages, or if there is a lack of infrastructure, right? So these supply side policies might not work. So you see, in order for the supply side to be effective, these policies to be effective, they have to work in side by side. They can't be implemented in isolation, right? Finally, environmental concerns is again a great concern because now economies are more concerned about the impact of or the consequences of implementing these policies onto the environment, right? If these implementation of the supply side policies and the setup of more and more industries lead to an increase in pollution or more carbon emissions or causes depletion of scarce resources. So this means though we might be increasing GDP, but at a cost of reduction in economic welfare. So this means it does not always mean that if GDP is increasing, it would also be increasing the economic welfare, right? So it does not necessarily lead towards an equivalent improvement in economic welfare. So the conclusion would be that yes, a country can increase its potential economic growth through the supply side policies by increasing either the quantity or the quality of the factors of production, right? But the effectiveness of these policies depends on the country's circumstances, on the availability of finance the government has, the time period, the political constraints, the shortages of the complementary factors. There might be a limitation on its full impact. Environmental concerns also must not be negated. So, the most effective approach would be that instead of implementing one single supply side policy in isolation, these policies must be implemented as a combination, right? So, a combination of the supply side policies, particularly investment in human capital or infrastructure, would help economies to reap the full benefits and ensure that there is an increase in the potential economic growth, provided the government has the resources and the policies are well targeted. So you need to be sure that the policies that the government aims to implement are right on target and the government has the resources to implement those policies in full. I hope you understood and enjoyed solving this paper with me. Stay tuned, subscribe, happy learning.